Hey there, it's CJ Willie and I'm cracking a pack. Today is pack number 10 of my science project of cracking a 1990 top Cello box. Check out my preview video for the explanation on how this science project will test the theory to see if I can build a complete set from a Cello box. I've added a link to my 1990 top Cello box preview video in the description below. With all the packs that I crack, I will share my thoughts and memories about some of the players or cards. After I've cracked the pack, I'm going to choose the best card of the pack. That doesn't mean it has to be a rookie, superstar, or Hall of Famer. It can literally be a goofy photo, something interesting about the player, or maybe some memory I had of the player from back in the day. Okay, let's get into pack number 10. Let's grab it out of our Cello box here. Set that off to the side. Okay, pack number 10. So far, we're still looking for a couple of the Chase rookies out of the set. Still looking for Larry Walker and Sammy Sosa. Check out my other videos to see some of the other rookies that I've pulled thus far. Some of the other superstars and interesting cards that I think are in this set. So let's get this gum out of here. And we're going to start with Jerome Walton. Yeah, Jerome Walton and Dwight Smith, they were pretty a cool combo of rookie outfielders that came up for the Cubs in 1990. The Cubs were fresh off of going to the NL Championship Series against the Giants in 1989. And Jerome Walton and Dwight Smith played a pretty good role in their ascendancy to the National League East title. Jerome Walton started off pretty good, but then didn't really have much sustained success after a couple of years. Joe Magrane. Joe Magrane is also one of the cards that if we were to get the Frank Thomas no name on front Hall of Famer, he's one of the cards that would be missing some of the black border here as well. Joe Magrane was one of my favorite Cardinals. He holds the distinction of being an ERA title holder for the National League, but also with a losing record. What's interesting on his leader card here is although he led the National League in ERA in 1988, in 1989 he was nowhere to be found, but I guess they had to figure out some sort of stat for him. Lance Blankenship, backup outfielder for the A's. John Dobson, came up as a starting pitcher, spent some time as a reliever, wasn't all that successful. Todd Froworth, another similar player to John Dobson, spent a lot of time as a middle reliever, but really didn't have a lot of sustained success. Phil Stevenson, he came up with a lot of promise, but just didn't pan out. So here we go, like 3 or 4 cards in a row of just people or players that just didn't really have a sustained career in the major leagues. Marvin Freeman, here's another one. Came up as a highly touted pitching prospect with the Phillies. Mike Stanley. Mike Stanley's career had some twists and turns in it. He originally was a backup catcher for quite a while, got his footing and spent a number of years as a power hitting catcher, DH. Todd Zill, this was a hot card. 1990, Greg Vaughn, Eric Anthony, Todd Zill, these were hot cards. This isn't Todd Zill's rookie year. His 1989 Upper Deck card was the chase card to get. The 1990 cards were flying off the shelves as well. Todd Zill and Greg Vaughn did end up having pretty good careers. Zill started out as a catcher with the Cardinals and then made the Joe Torre type switch, went from being a catcher to third base, and then spent the rest of his career with the Mets and the Dodgers and a couple other teams as a third baseman. Kevin Elster. Kevin Elster was a very weak hitting shortstop with the Mets. Bounced around for a while. Then all of a sudden in, I think it was 96 and 97 with the Texas Rangers, hit like 24 home runs just out of nowhere. Tend to think, that was right in the middle of the steroids era. Kurt Wilkerson, or in a lot of his cards, Curtis Wilkerson, a utility player with the Cubs and Rangers. Tony Castillo. I don't remember much about Tony Castillo. I'm going to guess he was a pitcher. Yep, pitcher. Sean Hilligus, middle inning reliever. Fred Lynn. Fred Lynn here is pitcher with the Tigers. He spent early parts of his career with the Red Sox and Angels, was a perennial all-star. In fact, I believe he is still the only player in Major League history to hit a grand slam in the all-star game. Left-handed hitter, and nonetheless hit it off of a left-handed pitcher, Atlee Hammaker. John Farrell, this is the manager, John Farrell, was a pitcher with the Indians and I think the Red Sox. Later on, rose to prominence as a manager of the Red Sox and won a World Series title with them. All right, there's our Topps Company store flyer. Oh, these are oriented the right way. Ken Oberkfell, he was one of my favorite Cardinals. He was their starting third baseman in the 1982 World Series. He was part of the Whitey Herzog dismantling and rebuilding into a faster, speedier Whitey ball era. He was traded to the Braves to make way for Terry Pendleton. Gino Petralli spent a number of years as a backup catcher. B.J. Surhoff. He had a pretty lengthy career with both the Brewers, Orioles, and I think a couple other teams. Not only as a catcher that did pretty well batting, but he was a okay defensive catcher. John Cerruti. He was a starting pitcher with the Blue Jays, had a little bit of early success, became a middle innings reliever. He later on became I think he was the color analyst for the Blue Jays on their TV network. Unfortunately, I think he passed away from a heart attack a few years ago. Mickey Hatcher. Oh, one of the cards of Mickey Hatcher where he doesn't have a giant oversized mitt. He really had his claim to fame in the 1988 World Series. Go to Wikipedia and check out his stats for that 88 World Series. He got a lot of playing time because Kirk Gibson, who hit the famous home run in Game 1 off of Dennis Eckersley and hobbled around the bases, was injured for most of the series and unable to play, and Mickey Hatcher stepped in and, for whatever reason, became the power-hitting superstar for the Dodgers in that series against the A's. Joe Carter, perennial all-star, rookie with the Cubs, went to the Indians, spent some time with the Padres, was part of the World Series winner with the Blue Jays in 92 and 93. I'm kind of on the fence with Joe Carter. I think he deserved a little bit more consideration for the Hall of Fame than he really got. He isn't a Hall of Famer, but it seems like he just didn't get a lot of consideration. Terry Poole, fourth outfielder, pinch hitter extraordinaire. Tommy Lasorda, giving the thumbs up. I've had the opportunity to meet Tommy Lasorda. He spent some time managing in the minor leagues before he made it with the Dodgers, and one of his famous minor league stops was in Ogden, Utah, and he was at a game. It was the same year that Cecil Fielder was a rookie, or his first year in the major leagues playing for the Brewers. Their Pioneer League team was in town facing the Dodgers, whose Pioneer League team was in Ogden, Utah, and Tommy Lasorda was there at the game. Back-to-back manager cards. Whitey Herzog, one of my favorite managers of all time. I actually rank Whitey a little higher than I do Tony Russa. I like both of them, but Whitey had a vision of speed and pitching and defense, and was able to win one World Series and go to two others. Should have had two World Series wins. No thanks to Don Dankinger and a blown call in Game 6 of the 1985 World Series. Rob Dibble, one of the three Nasty Boys, along with Norm Charlton and Randy Myers. Dibble could throw the baseball 100 miles per hour, and he had an attitude to match it. He later was part of the radio program with Dan Patrick, one of the funnier radio programs that was out there. Dibble has a sense of humor. Junior Ortiz, backup catcher with the Pirates. Jeff Ballard had a lot of early success with the Orioles in his career. If we look at the back of his card, he bounced around a little bit his first couple of years, but as you can see in 1989, had an 18-8 record. Rick Sutcliffe, he was a pretty good pitcher with the Dodgers early on, went to the Indians, and then had a phenomenal run. I'll never forget 1984. I think he came from the Indians, and his record was like 4-5, and then he proceeded to go 16-1 with the 1984 Cubs. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Let's just double check. Where are we? So Indians, yeah, he was 4-5, and then he went 16-1 with the Cubs for the remainder of that year. So a combined record of 20-6, and pitched the Cubs into the playoffs. Unfortunately, Game 5 against the Padres in the championship series, bad luck, and they were eliminated. Billy Ripken, this is his Topps card, not his famous 1989 Fleer card that had some obscenities on it. Tim Laudner, catcher with the Twins. He was part of the Twins' 1987 World Series win over my St. Louis Cardinals. And just like in one of my previous videos, Tim Laudner was followed by the last card in the pack, Danny Gladden, who was also part of that 1987 World Series team that beat my St. Louis Cardinals. So, best card out of the pack for today, I am going to go with, where is he? Right there, Fred Lynn. I wasn't, I was still, I think it was around 10 in the 1984 All-Star game. I still have really good memories of Fred Lynn hitting that grand slam off of Atlee Hammaker and the American League All-Stars trounced the National League All-Stars. And it's one of my very first or earliest memories of the All-Star game, and just the excitement of around watching the best players in baseball represent their league. And the All-Star game has always been something that's been fun for me to watch, even though in more recent years I don't think it's as fun as I remember it. But I definitely remember 1984 All-Star game and Fred Lynn and his theatrics. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like it, please subscribe and share. Until next time when I crack pack 11 from my 1990 Topps Cello box. Remember, this is for science.